Let me give this a little last refresh here. Alright.
I'll do so as well.
So it looks like we're finally getting going, at least on my end. I'm sure plenty of people are super aware of what's going on here, but I do want to remind everybody, like, we're here at the beginning of the game. There's no, like, typical speedrun RPG tech where it's like, maybe we're taking risks and, you know, bad things can happen. This is literally the beginning of the game, and you're going to fight the behemoth here real shortly. And should things just not line up the correct way, you can already just die. And, like, I kind of like it, actually, just because it really shows you what this game is all about immediately. Like, you don't even have to get halfway through your learning or anything to be like, this game's a little interesting. This is like, you can just die, and there's nothing.
Hey, look, he's gonna die. Oh, no, we got, okay.
So that's like, DDR is seeing like the luck and the bad luck all at once with the double crit for round one. Normally, if he wouldn't have gotten that crit, he actually would have died straight out the gate, but thankfully it worked out for him. Whereas Feral looks like,
the last round.
Yeah. So that's really unfortunate because not only did he die, but it took a really long time for it to happen. So he's going to be facing his first little hurdle here, being fairly behind. But anybody who knows this game pretty well knows, obviously, anything can happen anytime. So it's all good. It's all good. I might be a little biased, I'm not going to lie. I'm just going to throw it out there ahead of time. These two guys are my friends and have been for many years here, but I'm a little partial to Feral here.
Yeah, Feral I faced in the last round. He was the one that knocked me out. It's a pretty good match from what I understood. I ended up with a 4-2, ended up with a 4-5.
Yeah, otherwise it sounds like you guys were pretty much like in line with each other up until then, which is always cool when with a race like this. So we'll see what happens with these two guys. Like I said, I've known them for a very long time, about 4 years each. Feral, he was already speedrunning at the time when I met him. He's a FF4 old boy. He was actually the one to convince me to start playing Mystic Quest. We were racing each other a lot and kind of kept that going. DDR, actually, when I first met him, and for quite a while, was just kind of like a dedicated stream monster, very supportive, watched a lot of streams, and only fairly recently in general got into speedrunning himself. Next thing you know, the guy has a 156 in this game. So talk about domination. He's climbed the ranks super quick, and now here he is at the finals.
Yeah, 156. I think he said that last week.
Yeah, very recently.
Compared to Feral's PB, which I believe is just over 2 hours.
It's like a 2 hour 4x or 3x, something like that. Had sub 2 in the bag many times, but you know how it goes. You know how it goes.
Oh, I know how it goes.
Yeah.
There's a bird or two.
So outside of one miss that I saw, DDR is climbing through the forest pretty well without any real issues. Where Feral is slowing down a little bit here, but I mean, a dead Benjamin's a dead Benjamin. It's whatever.
Yeah, we're not going to rely too much on Benjamin for this dungeon here. The next dungeon is pretty important, but for these two fights here, he can't even kill the enemies in one round.
Exactly. Yeah, so DDR sailing smooth, you know. Crit Behemoth, got into the forest with maybe like one round that trolled him a little bit, but he got through. Like a mid-3 Minotaur. Can't complain with that. Let's see how Feral does here. Maybe we'll see the slightly rarely seen life miss. What a guy.
I've heard legends of this life miss, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's pretty rare. It's happened to probably almost everybody at least once, but thankfully it doesn't happen too often. So both guys are trucking here. By the way, if you don't know us by voice, I am Big Flong Balls, and I'm joined by my man Cyclone. I'm sure he can introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Cyclone. I was in this tournament till the semifinals, so
he's a pro. He's a pro. We're gonna go ahead and move on to the first kind of real dungeon here, the Bone Dungeon. You'll see a lot of the kind of basic mechanics of any dungeon you're really gonna be in. You're gonna have a partner. The route maps out kind of the best ways to get through the encounters, and so there's a little bit of a swing that can happen in each dungeon here. every kind of encounter that you can run into, most of them anyway, you know what you're kind of getting into, but the pack itself can be kind of random. You might have one enemy, you might have two, you might have three. And depending on what happens, you'll see slightly different actions. So if there's ever three enemies, you're not going to get through that encounter very fast at all. And you're going to run away and try again because you can just get a different pack by running and re-entering the fight. But from there, it's pretty simple. You're going to auto a Tristram, and he's going to auto attack an enemy and kill it in one hit. And then Benjamin, the main character, is just going to bomb the other one, and it's going to be all good. Your hope from there, of course, is that Tristram doesn't miss or anything, or else you end up wasting the round.
Yeah, we should probably talk about the resistance glitch a little bit.
Sure.
Before the run even started, both players would have loaded up a save file at the end of the game. The game, the game doesn't actually give the characters their stats when they join your party. It takes whatever the last loaded save was. This would impact us negatively if we didn't do it, so it's kind of just part of the run. So Tristram here has the resistances and gear from the endgame partner, Phoebe.
Yeah, what ends up being pretty amazing for the most part. You get resistances to some things that might give you a hard time, like let's say Phoebe being resistant to ice or other things like that, or maybe someone being resistant to petrify later on in the tree and whatnot. And probably one of the biggest things too is the speed bonus they get, and oftentimes your partner is always going to go first, which is super helpful in healing or getting Benjamin up during the fight or whatever. It's super useful.
And DDR moving on to pick up his seeds now. Now, up until now, they haven't wanted to actually see any 3 encounters, but now they're okay. There is a duplication trick using the seeds where we put our partner on manual, click to use the seed with Benjamin, and then back out and run from the fight. It refunds us the seed twice. And seeds are used to restore all of our magic points.
Yeah, duping is a pretty huge deal. We'll talk about some other stuff later, but even back in the day, it was really important because the fastest way absolutely to get through fights, especially later on in the game, is to use magic. Magic's so powerful in this game. And if you can continually use it and continually restore your magic, you're going to do that because that's the fastest way to get through. It's no big deal if they don't run into any triples after getting the seeds. They can duplicate it later. It's just like, kind of as Cyclone said, it's just not a big deal. You're not going to like complain about it if you see it, because at least you can dupe as opposed to just wasting your time. You also kind of have to, especially in the early game, kind of deal with how these packs are. Sometimes, like I said, 1, 2, 3 enemies. And, you know, when one enemy sounds nice speed-wise, and oftentimes it is, but you also end up getting less experience, too. And you can fight certain bosses at least all the way up to the pyramid 1 level lower than you really ought to, which actually does make a difference. So
yeah, I think probably the most important boss early on is the crab for level.
You're probably right about that. So DDR already at the Rex. Pretty simple. Tristram's going to auto-attack the whole time for the most part. You're going to seed right before you start the fight to give Benjamin max magic. And then he's going to bust out Cure. Cure is going to do some damage, and it's the biggest amount of damage anyone in the party can do, actually. It can miss, sadly. But that's what he's going to do. He'll have 4 charges of that, from which he'll move on. I think DDR doesn't use Quake anymore. So you're just going to bomb from there.
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, so the chest in the left side of the room Fail just came from is the Quake spell. Somewhat of a recent development that we skipped that. I haven't actually practiced that myself. I still grab it.
So you might have seen a Feral screen first round off the gate, a miss from Tristram. Really every attack landing, especially Tristram getting a crit, counts for a heck of a lot. Especially Benjamin here is not very durable, and it's really easy to get kind of stuck in this loop of not being able to do a lot of damage and trying to keep yourself up. It makes the fight take a really, really long time. Looks like DDR's in general went just fine, about 9.5. So he is trucking along.
Feral's having some issues over here. 2 cures have already missed.
Yeah, that's brutal.
I think my last match I had 4 cures missed. I think I had to bomb him at least twice.
That's even more brutal. Probably the worst thing to see is for Rex to use Rip Earth. It does take a while animation-wise, does a lot of damage to both guys. And I think that's probably the #1 spell. It gets you stuck in a loop. And we're hoping Feral doesn't have to deal with that too much right here. Well, at least the Rex is almost dead. So hopefully he gets lucky here.
It should also be noted, if he happens to Rip Earth and only Tristan is alive, it's going to do a heck of a lot more damage to him.
Yeah, so there he goes. So he's probably just under a minute behind right now, which really means not a whole lot. It's very potentially possible that DDR maintains this for a long time, or for a solid chunk rather, but yeah, you just never know. Your typical goal for Rex would at least to be under 10 minutes, so I imagine Feral is a little disappointed right now, but we got a long run to go, so it don't matter right now.
Not much you can do with dying to Behemoth and then missing multiple cures. He did also dupe all the seeds he needs. I saw him do that, so that's also plays a part in that.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point. So that's kind of like a lead, that part of a lead, partially that doesn't really count if DDR still has to do his.
Yep, and you saw DDRnoob and Phil do this as well. They picked up the Steel Shield on the way out of this dungeon. We don't pick it up on the way through because we don't have bombs when we pass it. Get it on the way out. The Steel Shield gives us defense, evasion, and +5 speed, which is going to be a tremendous help.
Absolutely. Now, Ben's still slowpoke, but it's still, like, epic bad if you don't craft that shield, so you definitely want to get it. Yeah, I mean, you obviously could get the bomb and walk all the way back and, you know, be a little bit better for the rest of the dungeon, but it's just not really worth the time investment. You know, this game has a huge reputation for being a big RNG fest, and, like, it's not wrong, but obviously the route is set in place in such a way that you want to give yourself the best opportunity to go fast, and then you kind of wait and see what the game lets you do or what it prevents you from doing. So again, you could get that or shield earlier if you wanted, but why? Why don't you just bank on, you know, getting lucky?
And one more thing is, Feral just now grabbed the Cure Potions. DDR did this as well. The players are picking up the items in a very, very specific order, and we'll get to that later.
Yeah, just recognize, as Cyclone said, the inventory is planned out. They could have gotten that Cure Potion first upon entering the dungeon, but you actually don't want to do that. It's really important they got the seeds in the first slot, and then the Cure in the next slot over. And coming back to the resistance glitch, since we have some time, there is no avoiding it unless you just make sure you have your saves deleted every single time. Technically, it makes the game sort of like a New Game Plus, or the route a New Game Plus sort of category, but since, like, this is the way everybody's going to play, it's just, you know, it's just a natural way to play. We're not going to call it anything else besides, you know, any percent, because this is the only way the game's going to be played for the most part. Obviously, you can beat the game in a relatively fast manner without the resistance glitch. It just becomes that much more slower and annoying and luck-based. And people who are familiar with this run already knows how much RNG plays a factor, so certainly why would you add more on purpose? It wouldn't really make sense to me anyway.
Yeah, try going through the tree without paralysis resistance. Let me know how that goes for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
So the next partner we get is Phoebe. She is a monster with magic. Pretty much every single encounter is just going to be her casting a spell, and everything's dead. If she can't handle it, a follow-up bomb will.
Exactly. She is a very good, one of the 2 best companions you can get in this game. She's very good, comes with some very good spells, lots of charges. And you'll see a slight strategy difference between the 2 gentlemen, because Feral has Quake, DDR doesn't. So you might have seen DDR throw Thunders at 2 worms, and they'll have to make up for that later. But Feral can use Quake on them instead. A little bit of extra menuing maybe, but you save the spell charge. So I forget what DDR's number crunching was. I know he felt that it was definitely a faster way to do what he does, but certainly what Feral's doing, there's nothing wrong with it at all.
Yeah, I don't think I actually saw the numbers myself either. One thing to note is the Quake the Quake spell is literally only used for 3 battles in this dungeon, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where a lot of the argument comes from for should we skip it, because you do have to take the time. The movement speed's not very fast. You got a room transition. Is it really worth it, or should you do something else? You can use Quake on Flamers when you run out of cures if you want, but theoretically you shouldn't have to do that anyway. So there's a lot of kind of back and forth going on about that. So both strats perfectly fine. Yeah, as we move on through the cave, it's really simple, to be honest. The only thing that's really going to slow you down, especially in the early rooms, is if you don't get like a uniform 3-pack. If you have all hedgehogs or all scorpions or whatever, Phoebe will actually auto-fire all of them, but when you have something else that's different, you'll have to manually do it instead. It just costs you a little bit of time. But ideally, you'll get all uniform packs. That'll change as DDR gets to the second room here, especially with the Centaur.
You gotta strike first.
So that's definitely super lucky. These Centaurs have the ability to confuse your party members, and they do tend to go before Benjamin does, and they cannot be one-shot by Phoebe. So you have to deal with that, and hopefully they don't confuse Benjamin so you can still take them out.
The worst thing that can happen is Phoebe gets confused and starts wasting her spell charges on you.
Exactly. And even if you happen to not have that happen, you sit there trying to get cured from it and all that. It wastes your time no matter what. And of course, it can just get worse from there also. But hasn't happened to DDR yet. He's climbing through. Taking a look at the chat here. So this run should be basically anywhere between a little under 2 hours to maybe like 2 hours and 10 minutes or so, unless something just goes epic wrong. The record is 152, but even the guy who has 152 can race and still get a 205 or 208 or something like that. It really just depends on how the rest.
I don't think I've ever seen him get above a 208.
Well, he definitely has, but yes.
He's like, I got a 203, it was a floor 2, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's Elmagus, by the way. He does have the record. He actually got a sub 2 with the floor 2 once, which is outrageous. But yeah, if you're watching this run here, it'll be just over 2 hours, most likely. The game itself isn't overly long content-wise. There's not going to be any grinding, and there will be some later on that certainly helps shorten the run as well. Let me see how far along DDR is. The game is heavily reliant on RNG. That's not to say there isn't a skill ceiling in this game. If you try to watch how they're entering their menus, especially in battle, you'll notice it's going really, really fast. And they have to know where everything they want to use is and where they left off and all that stuff. So menuing, it makes a bigger difference than maybe most people think it does or want to think that it does. But there's no denying there's a lot of RNG. You never know what the enemies are going to do. You never know if a boss is going to kill you. There's a boss later on who ends up in a random place, and you can't control that either. So the RNG is definitely there. Both of these guys, though, are going to be at that skill ceiling, though, so there's really no difference there. So fortunately or unfortunately, it'll probably come down to RNG between the two guys.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this to Bowie when I was commentating the last run. If the menuing in every single battle is 1 second faster than the next person, that's like at least 2 minutes right there.
Exactly. That's a really good point. DDR is entering the squid, a typically simple fight. You're going to thunder the first round to kill his ads, if you will, and then start bombing him, and then Phoebe's going to move over to arrow. The way this fight can go really fast is if Phoebe crits on like 3 or 4 turns, and then that would be super great.
I've seen that a few times this tournament.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
686 damage with a crit is absolutely amazing.
yeah, it's really nice, and you really cut your turns down by getting that multiple times. So he only got 1 crit, but at least he got 1 crit.
1910 on Squid Ape's really good. And Benjamin didn't even die.
Exactly. So once again, DDR he is trucking along right now. I think he keeps talking about retirement. Maybe that's true, but I also know he's pretty likely disappointed with how things went down at the 4-way race and limit break between he, Feral, Elmagus, and I. And I bet he's looking to just crush the competition right here tonight on the finals. So far, things are going well for him.
Didn't he forget to hit a switch or something?
Yeah, he He forgot to get arrow first and had to go back for it, and then he forgot if he fought the enemy in floor 4 and then didn't hit the switch.
Oh no.
And then had to like figure that out and then fix it, so it was a pretty rough time loss. But tonight, August 23rd, 2017, could be the night of redemption.
He's definitely off to a great start.
Yeah. So Feral still hanging around a minute behind. He's got the double blind on his party members. Yeah, just not getting as lucky right now.
Yeah, he'll probably want to get that off. So there's a mechanic in battle. You can actually, there's 4 commands. One of them is defend. You can defend your other character, and that character won't take any damage as long as the one defending isn't dead or isn't statused by certain things, and for some reason blind is one of those things. It's a weird thing I didn't actually find out until recently.
Yes. One battlefield will get cleared later, and we'll definitely come back to that. But just one.
Another reason, Feral's going to need to menu anyway. Benjamin's below half health. Whenever a character is below half health and your partner character is on auto, they will use the cure spell on them. And the upcoming battles, you're going to want her on auto to just burn all the enemies in the way.
Yeah, that's a great point, actually. You can set your partner to 2 settings, manual to choose whatever they want, or auto. And oftentimes it's auto is of course going to be faster because you got to go through extra inputs just to make them do whatever it is they want to do. So it's all completely predictable for the most part. There's a couple scenarios where things can happen and you're just like, why?
Arrow
but
reflect shield.
Exactly correct. So that's just one of those things where in a certain pack, Auto Phoebe will Thunder, or fire everybody. And she is programmed to do that, but your partner is also programmed to heal, as I already mentioned, if you're ever below half. So you do have to fix that. You will get owned, and lose a lot of time, unfortunately, if you don't keep that in mind. So it does have to happen. You gotta watch out for that.
There is one special thing about auto that you can't do on manual. If you're doing it and say you're on auto and Benjamin dies before your partner goes, your partner will cast life on Benjamin, who has not taken his turn yet, and will still get his turn.
Oh, yeah.
You can only do that with auto. You cannot do that with manual. Well, I guess you can queue up the life ahead of time, but the partner character's command on auto is not chosen until it's their turn.
Exactly. It's the best way to make sure that happens. We got a little sequence break here. You can dodge the whole right side of of this dungeon by moving these pillars in a very specific place. I guess they just didn't really look at the layout carefully enough. And instead of having to travel towards the other side, you can just line them up the way DDR has on this side here and just jump across to the last area. Easy peasy. You do have to, this is one of those things where people who have run it at least a few times, it's going to be fine. You don't really think about it, but if you do make a mistake, it can be impossible to come back from. So you kind of just want to watch that a little bit.
Before the crab fight, the DDRs, and you pick up the heal spell. The heal spell cures all status effects. It'll be pretty useful. For instance, Phoebe is confused right now, and Benjamin just healed her. Very useful.
Is that like a preemptive heal I just saw?
She was confused on her turn. The confused cured, and then she got confused again.
Gotcha.
And then he already had the heal queued up.
Yeah, that worked out nicely.
Okay, both of our players got level 8 before this fight. That's really, really important, as I was mentioning before. If you are level 7, Benjamin's max HP is 280. One of the crab's attacks does over 280. So it is pretty brutal at level 7.
Absolutely. And this is one of those fights that can go super straightforward. Crab will do some damage. Maybe he kills Ben early and you got to bring him up, or maybe he just slowly does some damage. You can just thunder him down. It's no big deal, but he can get pretty trolly with his confuses, which he started off with for DDR, but then backed off completely. And he gets through pretty fine. You're just going to bombard him with thunder. That's what your seeds are for. So we'll see how Feral does. He's just slightly behind here. It's been consistent, but still fairly meaningful, while DDR runs through the first dungeon, or the Ice Down Pyramid here, and he's going to pick up the first chest for his refreshers, which are useless, but he needs them for, yeah, mostly useless, but he needs it for his inventory.
Now, in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, you can actually see all of the enemies on the overfield before fighting them. It seems like they're invisible now. And they are invisible, we can't see them, but they're definitely still there. It's not random or anything.
Oh my gosh, so Feral's just having a real hard time. Crab just sniped Phoebe. You have no way to bring her up, and it's not like Crab was almost dead or anything either, so he just had to run to waste his turn and restart the fight as soon as possible, which is something you can do in Mystic Quest. When you game over, you can just restart exactly in the same fight, but unfortunately that's a fairly meaningful time loss for him.
I would mention as well, I think I saw DDR doing it, but I don't see FeralPigMan doing it. You can, for Benjamin, switch to the axe for this fight.
Yes.
The axe does a little bit more damage, has a chance to crit, but also has pretty low accuracy, so it's kind of a trade-off.
Yeah, once it misses once, then you've kind of lost out on its advantage, so it's kind of just up to you and what you want to do. And now we have a confused Phoebe firing herself while Benjamin's dead. Not looking good. You hate to see this happen, so now Feral is starting to fall behind. So this is one of those examples, like, he hasn't made any wrong decisions or anything like that. He's doing just fine, he's menuing fine, and he just can't get through the boss right now. He's on his third attempt. Confused on Phoebe first turn, and yeah, so we'll see what happens. At least she attacked him this turn. And yeah, so there's the 294 that he wouldn't have survived if he wasn't level 8, so thankfully he was. This is a rough time. For the pyramid, it's mostly straightforward. There's a handful of times the pack can change and you might have to end up using an extra thunder, or if you don't have it, you'll have to take an extra round. There's a couple of enemies later on that will confuse you also, but that's towards the end. Otherwise, it's mostly straightforward. Again, it's not random. They know where they all are. They're just invisible, and there's no point in getting the mirror to show all the enemies. It just, I mean, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, they're all in the way.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, seeing the enemies really just is whatever, because you can see there's just, like, oftentimes the way forward are, like, 1 tile or 2 tiles, like, most of the time. So there's gonna be an enemy there. And so you're really just hoping for some decent packs where you don't have to waste extra spells. You don't want any misses, like DDR just fought some birds that can waste your time if Phoebe happens to miss one, and stuff like that. So there's like little time losses that can add up when you go through these dungeons.
And those birds are one of the worst enemies in this entire dungeon, because you cannot one turn a battle with birds in it.
Yeah, it's just not happening. It's already going to be 2 turns, and then if you miss, that's just that much worse. Even if you happen to still kill them fast, it's like, well, you have to sit through all extra attacks and whatnot. There's a low chance, but they can stone you both, and then you got to do it all over again. It doesn't happen like super often, but it happens often enough that it's easy to get pretty angry about it.
28-28 on his statue flip switch.
DDR is having a, of course not like a perfect run, but he's having a really good run right now. For sure. Feral, on the other hand, we're struggling a little bit. We're struggling, but it's all good. She's hanging in there. And we'll see what happens, especially because the boss of this dungeon can be difficult to get through as well, so you never know.
We got some dungeons later on where huge time swings can be made. I had a match earlier in this tournament against Penguin Ninja. I saved 4 minutes on the tree. It was the best tree I've seen. So apparently, Omega's is better.
Yeah.
Which doesn't surprise me, but I just didn't see it. It was pretty much the only reason I won that match.
That is, in my opinion, the worst dungeon in the game. Yeah, obviously, we'll get to Pazuzu and whatnot later, and everybody, well, not everybody, but many people know what's going on there. But the tree is just, you just gotta slog through it every time. And there's a lot of fights in there, and it's just like, oof, it can just wear you down if just every other battle is just screwing you over. It's easily my least favorite dungeon, personally. I think the pyramid's kind of like a mini tree, though. It's kind of the same way. It's straightforward, but there are a lot of battles, and so just if enough things keep going wrong, like, you can lose some time here for sure. Well, we'll see what happens, though.
The formation Feral's in right now, the mages have a cure spell, so if they're low on life, or if any enemy's low on life, they have a chance of curing them. And the players will need to switch between either bombing again in the next turn or casting a fire spell, depending on if he uses that or not.
So when all is said and done, Feral's probably going to be like 2.5, maybe 3 behind at this point. Certainly not insurmountable. That is a rough deficit for early in the game, for sure. Then again, depending on how the next part goes after this dungeon, then,
oh yeah,
I mean, whatever. It won't make up that difference, but it can make up a lot of that difference.
Yes, I believe this tournament has seen anywhere from 0 to 11. So
nice.
I only heard about the 11. I didn't see it myself.
That's pretty incredible. Yeah, so we're looking at a 3-minute deficit, just about, within a few seconds or so. Alright, so now we're hitting up the Sphinxes. I'm not quite sure if it was the first time or not. But these are the next enemies that can confuse and can often go before Benjamin does and can ruin your day, of course waste your time or waste your spells or both. So far, so good. You are going to make this pit stop, grab the heals as your last consumable item on the top row of your inventory. And you're going to hit an important switch as well, and then grab the noble armor. Super important thing for him to get.
Going down here is important for many, many reasons. One is to get the last consumable, as you said. The noble armor gives us ice resistance versus the boss coming up, who, you know, Ice Spearman has an ice boss, go figure. The other reason is after we finish this dungeon, we have to leave, and the fastest way is down here. And now it's already open, and we don't have to fight anything.
Yeah, exactly. So again, like, Benjamin, not very durable. Imagine if he didn't have ice resistance against the ice boss, it'd be so much worse. Yeah, you don't want to go on without that armor, let me tell you that. I mean, if they're making a detour for an item, you can dang sure bet it's, like, mandatory. Some might argue maybe other things should also be mandatory. I don't think I agree. You know, it really just depends on how things go, but, like, you know, no steel shield. Yeah, no steel shield or no noble armor is just like, that's like not rolling the dice. That's like basically suicide. It's just like, you're not really gonna get through. I mean, you will eventually, but like the odds are so not in your favor if you don't get those specific items that like you're gonna take the time to get them. Whereas there might be other items later where you're like, nah.
Yeah, I'll talk about that one when we get there. Now, DDR did actually use up his stack of seeds. That's actually an important thing to note for later on. He has everything set up for in his inventory exactly how he needs it, and he actually needed to use that last seed.
Absolutely. So it is completely routed out. They duped enough times so that, of course, they were going to use seeds throughout the game, or at least throughout this point, and they duped just enough to make sure that the last time they would need them, they would run out. So by the time they do the last encounter of the dungeon before the boss, that's the last charge they will have had, and they don't need to refill because they got the boss coming up, and you don't happen. Thunder is typically the spell you're looking at.
Yes, of course. I do mean Benjamin. The main character's name canonically is Benjamin. Though it doesn't actually put that in the game for you. Is it in the manual? I don't even know.
Good question. I don't recall. But yeah, everybody has their own special, unique name they like to put in. Genjamin is a staple for a lot of us who know him, and I'm glad Feral's putting him on the main stage. You know, my man DDR though he's got a little weeb going on though, so his name doesn't surprise me. That's okay. We have one Genjamin. That's fine. I don't judge.
He gets to level 11 before the ice golem. That's pretty good.
It's definitely very helpful as well. And yeah, he's all set, so he'll be walking his booty over to Ice Golem here, and we're gonna see what happens.
So he'll get the double confuse on him, but Benjamin decided to use bombs, so that helped out. That worked out pretty nice.
Sometimes lucky. This fight's relatively straightforward in terms of what you do. Obviously, he's going to be weak against fire. You could get the fire spell for Benjamin if you wanted, but you don't really need it, and it obviously costs time to get. So you're just going to bomb with him. It does almost as much damage anyway. It's totally fine. You do have to watch out for health for once in this fight. He can kill your partner, and there's no way to bring her back. There's no way to bring back any partner at any time. But from there, it kind of just depends. So he has his punch, he has the ice blocks, which does like a gajillion damage, and he can crit that. Or maybe you want to heal Phoebe, and he happens to go first and uses that and kills her. That's definitely something that can happen too. And then when he gets low, he'll use an AoE attack that will also heal him. Does good damage, hits both parties members, and it heals them. He'll start doing that right around the time he hits his last animation, where it kind of has like the hand coming out the puddle. And he'll spam it, so you really got to make sure you can try to get through and kill him as fast as possible. I'm really not seeing too many issues, though.
1 HP.
Oh my god. What a god, dude. Who in the chat here believes that DDR might be just restreaming a task for this race right now? This is ridiculous.
Sub 37.
So he gets a 36 Ice Golem, which is very good. But he is having a great run right now. It went from good to like great. And Feral
really fast.
What a guy, dude. Freaking DDR. Classic, dude.
Feral's on like an average pace. He's not doing bad at all, but DDR is just blazing through this.
Yeah, it just sucks because like he unfortunately just went beyond some average trolling. Like, are you gonna die to Behemoth once? Yeah. All right, whatever. Fine. Like dying to Crab 3 times, like you know, like that's harsh. That's harsh. So he's having a tough time right now. Maybe his luck ran out. Who knows? We'll have to see. We'll see how his fight goes. Like, DDR's was really good.
There's a couple questions in chat I see. One asking why the person on the right is using health bars as opposed to numbers. Generally speaking, that's just preference of the player. It could also be argued that it requires a menu to switch it from this what's called scale to the numbers. It takes like a second. So it really is just player preference. Each of the big bars underneath are 40 HP, and at the top there are 40 bars. Each level up using 40 HP, so it just kind of works out with the game's advantage.
Yeah, I can't say I'm familiar with every single runner of this game now. A bunch of people kind of came on the scene around the tournament or for the tournament or whatever. The only ones I specifically know who do it are Bowie and DDR. There could easily be more. Most of us, quote-unquote normal folk, don't want to deal with all that and want to use your numbers. It'll take the whole second. It'll take, because you have to go to that menu anyway to just change it over, just so you don't have to sit there and figure it out. But I mean, it doesn't matter. If he likes it, he likes it. He is starting the exit battlefield now. He got unlucky with 1 Sphinx already. But yeah, why don't you go ahead since I have to.
So, the exit battlefield. This is the only battlefield in the game that players are going to do. There are 2 types of encounters. The single Thanquid, which is more common and what we want, and the Squid and the Thanquid, which we will run away from every single time we see it. It has as far as I can tell, like a 95% chance of getting the first strike against you, and the Sphinx will confuse you on the first turn. So there's really nothing you can do, so you may as well just run and restart.
Yeah, you're not gonna get through the battle. I mean, of course you can technically, but it's probably not gonna happen, and it's gonna take forever. So you may as well run and try again. Usually, on average, you're probably gonna run into like 4 Sphinxes.
It's up to 3 already, by my count.
Yeah. So, but you never know.
Feral did get through with the sub 40, so like I said, it's about average.
Yeah. So he's maintaining about that 3-minute difference, and we'll see. We got you never know. Maybe they'll have the god exit battlefield and catch up a minute or so on DDR. You just never know. Even much like anything else, the battlefield has its swing in RNG too. Like obviously you want all squids, but even then you can get surprised by the squid. The squid could still go first before you kill it. You won't die from it, but its little electrocution animation sure eats up a little bit of time each time. So, it's just one of those things. And I already mentioned the Sphinx are just going to waste your time. But after a bit of a rough start on the battlefield, it looks like DDR is moving through without much issue so far. 2 more to go. And Feral has the long walk out of here. Thankfully, that's about to change for the future.
Yeah, and he's actually Feral's gonna grab this chest down here. You need 10 bombs to get through this battlefield, realistically. So luckily there's a chest right there. We just get it.
Yeah, if you have more than 10, you can skip it. Or if you're under 10, yeah, you have to grab it. There's 10 fights you have to do. You gotta have 10 bombs, as mentioned already. And you're rewarded with the exit spell, which is an absolutely amazing spell for this game. First and foremost, it does exactly what you think it is in other Final Fantasies and whatnot. You can use it, you exit the dungeon immediately. You can absolutely save a lot of time. It also has an in-battle use as well, where if you happen to hit with it, it'll just take the enemy right out of the battle. You do not get its money or experience, but it's basically a way for Benjamin to actually be useful and quote-unquote kill things in one turn. It's obviously, it's single target only, but it's the best way for him to actually kill something. And honestly, the money and experience who cares at that point?
Now there is one main danger of the exit spell. It is in the first spell slots that you access when you access the spell menu. And right below that is Cure. If you miss input and you don't realize it, you can exit yourself from the dungeon, which would waste a very substantial amount of time.
Yeah, what really, really sucks is if you leave the dungeon and all the enemies that you killed respawn and you have to do it all over again. And so obviously, depending on how far in you got, that's how much time you lost. All right, so we're going to do something real specific here. You may have remembered that they used up all the seeds in the first slot, and then for whatever reason, the game lets you buy 0. And so you can buy 0 seeds and then use it, which drops you into a negative value. And what that's going to do is it's going to mess with his inventory. And one of the outcomes for that is he ends up getting 255 seeds. It'll only list 99, but that's how many he has, so you don't have to dupe or buy them, or assuming if you even could. But you won't have to dupe again because you have a billion. And then he's gonna, he had a sky coin, as an item up in the top too, and we're gonna buy some cure potions to kind of override that and mess with the inventory even more to give him some items. Specifically the coin that allowed him to open that door, among other things too. So what that allows is that it gave him basically the quest story item you would get after doing the entirety of Firebird area. So he gets to skip all those dungeons and all those bosses and whatnot and just move right on. It saves a billion. The game just assumes you have Ruben, and so he appears out of nowhere, and you can just continue with the cutscene, and it's an incredible time save. The only downside is, since you don't do the volcano, you don't get the white spell, and most importantly, you don't get the life spell.
Also, we're ridiculously underleveled.
And now we're ridiculously underleveled as well. And so, worth it, because it saves a billion, but you do pay for it in some ways, for sure.
I haven't been watching Feral closely. He does not seem to be having a good time at all.
No, so, continuing the trend, both guys are playing, or rather, experiencing very consistent luck, or lack of luck. Ah, poor guy. It's okay. The comeback. There will be a comeback, I promise. And if I'm not right, I'll never commentate a Mystic Quest run ever again.
The Tristram crit on the mummy. Wow, what is this? So Tristram's bad, for lack of a better word. He actually can't kill mummies with his attacks. He can't kill mummies with 2 of his attacks. It takes 3, unless he crits. I know what I'm running through. I just have Tristram defend Benjamin. Just Benjamin take care of it.
Yeah, mummies are terrible. They punch hard, they can put you to sleep, and most dangerously, they can petrify. They double petrify you. You got to start over. They can lock you in that infinite if they want. As a Cyclone just mentioned, like, you tend to not want to attack them because it's probably not going to go anywhere. But you know, DDR does like to play risky. It's a big part of why he has the time that he has. And normally, what you would do is just have Tristram defend and tank all the hits. So that Benjamin just exits them one by one. It's also why you tend not to want to fight 3 of them, because even if you do that, chances are you're not going to make it out of that fight anyway.
So DDRnoob got to the Deku tree, whatever he's called. I don't actually know. And he won't let us in. He won't let us in. Tristram's not scary enough, so we gotta go get somebody scarier.
They're very thankful for it, because Tristram sucks.
Yeah, we only have to do 3 battles with him. It's the most miserable 3 battles of this part of the game, but...
Yeah, so if you're paying attention to Feral's screen, he just performed the same underflow. He's getting to move on too. And then DDR is doing another one of his little minor changes that he does. He is going to make the pit stop first with Tristram to pick up the arrow spell. Feral will do that also, but it'll be after he gets Kaylee. That makes the fight a little bit more risky because, again, Tristram is not super useful. But, I mean, he didn't really have a problem getting through there, so it doesn't matter. And you got to pass by anyway, so it's like minor difference. But yeah, I mean, you kind of have a little, I don't want to say fetch quest per se, but Tree doesn't let you in until you get some nature hippie going with you, so we got to do that.
And there goes Ruben again. I forget who's, oh, it was RPGC who started it. It was like, yeah, the item duplication glitch also puts the sandwich in our pocket, and then we drop our sandwich off of the bridge.
Who's that guy? There's 2 little things you have to do. DDR is on his way to 1. You do have to talk to Spencer in his giant underground cavern. It does just take a while because it's humongous, I guess. But you know, literally all you have to do is talk to him and go through some cutscenes. Then if you visit Phoebe's house, then you can grab Kaylee and be on your merry way. He'll be doing that. Feral's going to be walking through the forest now. This is something DDR has already done. And we'll see how he handles these mummies here. Those 3 battles are mandatory. He gets 2 mummies, 1 ghost. It's not the worst thing ever. He's going to go for it. Tristram can kill ghosts unless they drain his strength or whatever. But we did get the stone on Benjamin, unfortunately. And again, Tristram's not going to be killing anybody. So he opted to just leave and try the battle again.
Another strategy to do is cast Life onto Benjamin in that case, because the Life spell actually is ridiculously overpowered. It restores health if you're dead, it restores health if you're alive, both cases to full health, and removes any status effects.
As long as it's in battle, it will remove the status effects, but it will still, if you want to use it out of battle, it'll still heal to full, no matter what. And you get 2 ghosts, so that's the fastest battle he can get through there. So he got owned in 1 battle, gets a good battle right here. Never mind, I take it all back. Shouldn't have said anything.
So last we saw Kaylee 45 minutes ago, she was level 3. She has since taken a nap and drank some elixir. She's now level 31.
People underestimate the power of good sleep, man. So there it goes. Stop staying up late. Get your sleep.
Her axe also got bigger.
Yeah. She gave you her crappy one, now she has. What a girl. You thought it was an upgrade, but really she was holding out on you.
Now that very axe we can actually get in the alive forest before entering the tree. There's just no point for us to do it for the speeder.
Yep, you got other stuff you're gonna use. At this point in time, Benjamin's like almost never gonna physical attack anyway, but if he does, you got other cool items like the Knight Sword or the Dragon Claw at this point in time. The axe is really only gonna be used to get rid of obstacles, so there's no point in upgrading. You may as well just stick with what you got. And now that you have Kaylee, she's a beast, and she does have the arrow spell, and you don't really have to worry about these like defense and exits anymore. You can just double arrow everything, and it's all gonna work out for you. There's 3 enemies anyway. If there's 2 enemies, she'll just kill them all with 1 arrow. And even if they kill Benjamin, who cares? Because Kaylee will just go again first next turn and then kill everybody. So this party setup is just so much better than Winterstorm.
Wow. Is Benjamin just hanging in there with, I think that's 7 HP.
Yeah. But DDR, he...
2 attacks in a row for 1 damage.
You know, maybe I should just give him more credit than I've been giving him. Maybe he's been playing the long con all along, where he just, like, totally threw a race at a live marathon so he could just come back and fool everybody and just destroy my boy Feral in the finals here. Who knows, man? I don't know. This is an epic run by him so far, for sure.
Yes, but he's about to step foot into the tree, which... It's a thing. This tree is a thing.
Absolutely. So we can kind of identify them one by one as they get there, but the tree is just not a small dungeon. Like, even when you know exactly where to go and what to do, you're in the tree for a long time. And there's a lot of encounters, each control you in your own way, and you can... So it's kind of funny because, like, you can gain 1 billion when things go right, as Cyclone mentioned already, or you can lose 1 billion if enough things kind of keep going wrong.
And I failed to mention this, the best scene in the game on FeralPigMan screen right now. Phoebe comes in, and Phoebe is helping. Spencer left, so she's going to take up the mantle of digging this tunnel by using a bomb in the tunnel. She's not very good with bombs.
Gosh, I wish I was looking at the time. I think DDR might have gotten into the tree, like sub 50, but or at least really close to that.
I wasn't looking either. I usually use the worm room as a metric.
Yeah. I never got down to bringing in the tree and split, so I wasn't. I failed. I wasn't paying attention. I'm sorry, everybody. I let everybody down. Yeah, you're seeing the other kind of overworld mechanic of the claw. Everything has its use. The sword can open switches and whatnot. The axe chops stuff down. The bombs can blow up walls. The dragon claw will let you climb things. I mean, so will the cat claw, but it also lets you kind of traverse those gaps here. You have to have that stuff.
Yep, and the dragon claw. We'll probably be seeing some of this a little but in battle, it's not the strongest weapon ever, but it has a chance of proccing like every single status effect in the game or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Petrification's the main one we're going for, because it's practically instant death.
The upgraded items actually also do add to stats, so there are times where you might want a slight boost in speed, and it's better to keep the sword on. Or many more times you actually want the claw on, because it boosts his magic and makes him do a little bit more damage. So there might be some scenarios, or there are some scenarios later on where Benjamin's damage without the claw is enough to kill, and that way you want to put the sword on because it will up the chances that he goes first. But if he needs the extra damage from the claw, then that's what you have to do. No point in going first if you're not going to kill. DDR is in the first room now that can change your time quite a bit. We have a lot of worm fights in a row. In this first room rather, you can either have 2 worms or 3 worms. 2 worms are super nice because Kaylee will kill them in her 1-round arrow, and it goes through super fast. 3 worms can kind of suck because you're not going to be able to kill them in 1 round, and they're probably going to go before Benjamin. They might kill him. We get a miss from Kaylee right there, so that's extra annoying too. You can either axe exit the worms or double arrow. The double arrow is riskier because all three of them get to go, but ends up being a little bit faster. So it's up to you. Right.
I've seen arguments for both strats there, either single targeting him down or just multi-targeting him down. I go with multi-target myself.
Yeah, and I do the exact opposite. It's like I've seen it work and it's awesome. It just like never seems to happen for me, so I just kind of stop doing it. And that's just my own personal preference. It doesn't really matter because ideally anyway, you're hoping for 2 worms anyway. So it's like
right.
there's no real point in like super debating it.
There is one point that I always like to bring up about that. Being level 16 for this dungeon's boss is really nice, and if you're exiting everything, it's a lot lower chance of you getting that. But it's more for a race thing and not for like going for a PB thing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like almost a guarantee. He's not going to be that. That's true. You could also run from the battle and try again. You could end up in the infinite and just keep running into 3, but you could also not, and running away once and getting a 2 is gonna be faster. But you could always try. Either way, you're trying your luck no matter what. So this personal preference at that point in time. Now that he's moved into this room, DDR that is, he can also get the variation where you have 2 worms, 1 ooze, which also is the worst variation. You can't magic the oozes, they reflect it, and so you'll have to single target everything down, and you'll need multiple turns to get the ooze down depending on what else happens, so just can take a while.
Unless you go for claw straps.
Yeah, true.
So oozes are weak to bombs, and they can also be affected by petrification, so depending on the situation, the runners might use claw, they might use bombs.
Exactly. Let's see. Well, we are seeing a number of 2s here. We saw a solid chunk of 3 too, but
I don't think there's been a news yet either. So.
Yeah, so that's kind of the main thing right there is that DDR is not seeing any bad luck. At worst, he's been seeing average luck. What a guy, dude.
Wow.
Yeah, never mind. It's not average anymore. It's really good.
I've heard that it's like a 75% chance of not getting the 2 worms in this room.
Oh man, head to head.
That's what I heard.
Who knows the truth here? Some mysteries are not meant to be solved. There's no way anybody knows that information, so we'll just have to move on. Forever.
He's out of that room at 57:30. Oh my goodness.
Alright, we got double. We got double for Feral here. Alright.
I think it's nice to be in that room at an hour, and he's out at 57:30.
Oh my god. Alright. Double. Oh, triple. Rip Feral. It's over. It's already over. It's not over. Don't
So he's actually switched over to the multicasts. I guess since Benjamin's a higher level, he has a slightly higher chance of actually going before any of the worms. Didn't happen here, but...
Yeah. So that's the risk I hate running into, which is why I don't do it. I mean, it's completely 100% viable. It is what it is. The toads in here can be pretty trolly too. Many enemies, if you're not going to arrow them down, at least Kaylee has the strength to one-shot them with her axe. The toads do petrify and cannon you. They, of course, didn't though, because that would be halting DDR's God Run, so they wouldn't dare do something like that. But technically they can. More triples for Feral, so hard to catch up if you're not getting a billion doubles. He's got a dead Benjamin for his triple worm too, so slows it down a little bit. And you gotta get back into the menu to heal. And you might be noticing he actually scrolls all the way over to Kaylee's magic menu to heal instead of Ben's, just to 100% make sure he doesn't accidentally exit.
There's the Fabled Ooze on Feral's side.
Of course.
Didn't see any on DDR's side.
The Fabled Ooze, which is not even fabled at all, but if you only watch DDR's run, you definitely get that impression.
Yeah, he went for the claw strat, didn't get the petrification, but got the crit, which also kills it in one shot.
Yeah, or else you're seeing on DDR's side right now how the axe cannot kill. It did use its absorb though, so if you can axe and then if it absorbs Kaylee, she's resistant against it and it'll actually deal damage to itself.
Just like that?
Just as you saw right there, yep, exactly. And then he gets the kill.
That absorb on Kaylee, or if Kaylee crits, are the only two instances you can one cycle that battle.
So
and Kaylee doesn't crit very often.
They don't necessarily absorb often either. And of course can use it on Benjamin if he's around too. So. And we get a nice miss here. So Feral, we're having a hard time still. One day his luck's gonna pick up. I believe in him. In the meantime, my man DDR is gonna chop a bunch of mushrooms. He's gonna chop a bunch of mushrooms while Feral fights 3 worms, because he's not lucky.
I always found this weird. It's like you chop them off and then it's like they're in the ground now. I guess you're like actually hammering them into the ground, but they can't animate them.
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't question Squaresoft. They make only good decisions.
I don't think Feral got a single double worm in that entire room.
Yeah, I don't think he did either. That's not how you catch up. Ooh. And then the worm absorbs. Is he gonna live? Okay, he still dies. That would be a pretty big slap to the face. He'll do less damage, but the other problem there too is he's gonna go after the enemies most likely, so. You're really banking on Kaylee, what Kaylee can do, or really what your partner can do turn 1, because they're gonna go first, and you're hoping you can make something pay off. Let's take a look at DDR's side. Getting through some oozes. Pretty standard. Bomb, axe. And there's a bunch of them. Yeah, Benjamin's dying here and there. That's kind of like the worst of what's happening. Yeah, but it's not going to really matter what Ben does, though, because he's always going to go last.
Yeah, there's actually some pretty close thresholds that we hit in this. It's hard to tell during the speedrun, but there's some pretty close ones.
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised, like, when you, even when you compare his damage, like, let's say sword versus claw, like, it's not an amount where you're just like, wow, yeah, that claw is awesome. But you use your sword and you don't kill, you use your claw, you do, so, you know, things are closer than you think they are.
I know, there's an enemy later on in the game who can self-destruct on you, and he'll do as much damage as he'll do as much damage to himself as he has health left, and I've seen, like, 8 pop up on him several times. It's great.
There you go. DDR is almost done. He does get the double worm ooze. Might be the first one he's gotten.
No, it's not. He's gotten a couple recently. But...
Yeah, so I was just about to say, it's like it's easily within 3. He's been having a lot of good fights right now. Double ooze for Feral. Could have been 3, so he lucks out a little bit there. For himself. At the very least.
Now, see if DDR actually is level 16, however. There is one specific situation in the upcoming fight where if you're level 15, you will not live no matter what. But if you're 16, you have a chance.
Exactly. Right, but it's not an if he's gonna kill too, or else that's what they would be doing.
So these skeleton soldiers are actually really scary, and we haven't seen that yet. But the next encounter he's about to get into should be a group of 3. I believe they have Doom Gaze and Confusion and a bunch of nasty stuff.
They got it all. If there's a way to kill you and game over you, they got it. And they're gonna go, because again, you're not gonna one-shot them.
Alright, he does not get 16, so...
Yeah, it could bite him in the butt, but with the way his run's been going, you never know. So we're gonna hit up Ghidra. You're gonna single target your way through his ads here, and then you're gonna just arrow him down. And it's kind of funny because the boss can also use arrow on you. So you can really just hear the arrow sound over and over and over.
Yeah, my split name for this is Tornado Watch.
That's funny. It's one of those fights that like can definitely go super well and can definitely go wrong like super fast depending on what he does. He can petrify you, gets the double off, and next thing you know you're done. And he can do it whenever he wants. You can almost kill him, and then he'll double petrify you. You gotta start over. You're seeing some quakes, but yeah, go ahead.
The boss has paralysis, he has petrification. Kaylee, due to resistance glitch, has paralysis resistance, but loses her petrification resistance. And one scary situation you can end in is if Kaylee gets petrified, especially if you're below 500 health, you've pretty much lost the fight. If Benjamin's in full health, though, you can actually get her back up, unless, in DDR's case, he's level 15, and Ghidra uses Quake. I believe that does over 600.
I think you're right. Yeah, and so kind of as you say, it's an interesting trade-off. You lose petrification, gain paralyzed. Seems like a terrible trade-off. It's kind of not, though, at least in this specific case. My man Dancho has come through with different resistances and partners and whatnot, and pretty much Ghidra is always opening with the paralyzed. I don't think it's like, it may not literally be 100, like those numbers I've not looked at, but he almost always opens with it, if not literally always. And then you start off your fight pretty much already like in really, really bad shape. So having that paralyzed resistance is pretty important. And then you get the Goon Kid. Goon Kid.
You already get 16 off of that fight, so that'll actually be helpful starting the next dungeon.
Absolutely. You do get one extra magic charge. I forget what the school is called. Wizard, is it?
Wizard, it is Wizard, yeah.
Yeah, he goes from 3 charges of it to 4, so it will help him, go through more battles without having to go into the menu. You also saw in the overworld it was super cloudy. It's not supposed to be, but since we never did the Firebird dungeons, it's still there. But it's okay. I mean, you're on a track, so as long as you know where you're going, it's easy as heck.
And you mentioned the Wizard spell charges. We actually don't have a Wizard spell yet. And that's exactly what DDR is going to get right now. If we went to do this earlier, there would be so many monsters in our way, it's just not worth the time. But now they're all gone, so we just walk over there and grab it real quick, and then we exit out.
It's such a good spell. So even without monsters, it seems like how it took him years to go get that spell. Completely worth it. Gets through the battles of the next area faster. Gets through the boss of this next area faster. Helps with in certain encounters even at the very end of the game. So it's super important that they get it. And they're also getting the Cupid Locket here, which gives some nice resistances for the late game. You don't have to deal with a lot of the things that really might have annoyed you in the early game.
Was it like blind and confusion or something like that?
Yeah, I believe, yes, exactly. We might be missing one thing that I'm forgetting, but those are probably the big...
I think it's silence, but we don't care.
And then something they could have done when they were in Fireburg is talk to this guy to get the jumbo bombs, but there was really no reason to. Not really worried about the damage from bombs. You even saw in the dungeon he was using either arrow or exit anyway, but you still have to get them at some point, though, and do more damage.
Well, we don't have the key to get into his
Right.
house.
So you could take the time to do that if you really wanted to, and that probably has its own consequences. But again, there's no reason to. So even if it wasn't like an issue for other purposes, like this is still like a better way of doing it, because you don't have to like do a bunch of chores to get there.
Wouldn't that put Ruben in your party?
It might, yes. I think you would need Ruben in the party. So, so like I said, like the access is there, so to speak, but like. Going back now ends up being better anyway, was the point that I was trying to make.
Yeah, he was out at 1:07:10, roughly. Which is fast.
Yeah. The general trend for the fights DDR is in that Feral will get to shortly as he gets through Gidra. It looks like he's doing just fine so far. Again, you never know. At least Gidra is almost dead. You think it looks like he's just gonna go for it. He's just gonna try to get the kill without reviving Benjamin, which might bite him in the butt here. He just has to kill here. Yeah, it should be the kill, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, there we go.
I think Gidra can go first, and then he could just petrify you.
Yeah, so it was risky, but it was absolutely the right play to make. It was probably gonna be fine, but even then, like, he's in a race. I think he probably knows he's likely behind it, even if he doesn't know exactly where he is. So that was the right move to make, and it definitely was more likely to pay off than not.
And one thing I forgot to mention, level 16 for Mount Gale is also useful. If you're level 15, you actually have to have the claw equipped for Meteor to kill 2 enemies. But at level 16, you can put on the sword and maybe outspeed them.
Exactly correct. Otherwise, pretty simple. Take out one with Phoebe with arrow, and then Meteor the other two. Just gotta make sure you keep track of your charges, something I personally always struggle with because I don't pay attention. And you definitely don't want to hop into the battle and not have your charges. And then you gotta go out, you gotta reseed, or maybe you'll tackle the fight in a different way. Either way, you're losing time, so something to keep track of. That's easily another one of the big things that are like, I would consider part of the skill ceiling. Your menu accuracy and speed that we mentioned before absolutely counts for a lot, but also just keeping track of your magic. Again, because you'll waste time if you enter a battle where you're not prepared for. But you could also, be more careful, right? You can just seed all the time, but again, you'll still lose time in the long run because you're going into your menu, X amount more times than you ought to be.
So DDR is about to come up on the Dullahan. He's a fun boss. He, first of all, isn't weak to anything Kaylee has. Kaylee can do about 700 damage per turn. And for the most part, will kill Benjamin every other turn. He also has a new move that we're going to be seeing a lot of from here on, Doom Dance, which is a chance of outright killing your characters. And if your partner character gets Doom Danced, the battle's pretty much over.
Yeah, your only hope if your partner gets Doom Dance is if the boss is 1 to 2 turns away from death, and you just get extra lucky and are able to kill him off. Meteor is the name of the game here. That's again one of the biggest reasons why we got it. It does a lot of damage, and it looks like DDR has had the opportunity to try to use heal strats on Dullahan. For whatever reason, using heal on Dullahan seems to afflict him with status effects, most notably poison and some sort of paralyze, so if you use it on him, he can get stun locked, and actually he'll never take a turn, which certainly makes the fight a breeze. You can never really quite tell if it worked or not unless he didn't take his turn. Even if he was stunned one round, he might not be stunned the next round, which happened to DDR actually. He's going, despite the fact it was casted on him like 2-3 times. And as Cycler mentioned already, 2 attacks, if not even 1, will kill Benjamin. So there's a lot of healing that has to be done also. Nothing too crazy going on. We already have Dullahan at the his last animation here. Let's see what happens. So this is also another opportunity where, like, if he wanted, Dullahan could throw out some Doom Dances right now in the battle, but I think he's basically dead at this point. Gosh, yeah. So that's just another solid fight down. Just right there. There's no stopping this guy right now. Feral's getting through fine. As we said before, he has the spell to double shot. He is 16, so he can sort it up and try to go faster. DDR has to talk to this NPC. It will let him go to Pazuzu's tower, one of the more infamous dungeons, for some excellent, excellent reasons. And off he goes.
So just a quick rundown of Pazuzu's tower. The boss Pazuzu, we're going to meet up with him very shortly, but he's going to run away. There are 7 floors in the dungeon. He can't run away to the floor he's on, obviously, and he can't run away to floor 7, which leaves 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Floors 1, 4, and 5 are roughly around the same as far as quality is concerned. However, floor 6 is absolutely amazing, and floor 2 is so incredibly dreadful that the difference in those is like 9-10 minutes.
10-11 minutes. So there's a pretty, straightforward mechanism. Like if you enter any floor right now, Pazuzu's going to be sitting at the top in front of the elevator, and then he will randomly go to another floor from there after he's spoken to. And so you could technically just, head up into floor 1 and talk to him and deal with that. But the route is set up in such a way to where, again, you are banking on the fastest possible scenario. And at least thus far, the fastest possible scenario is to talk to him on floor 3 and then hope he appears on floor 6. And then, of course, if he doesn't do that, there's a multitude of other scenarios that are all substantially slower than floor 6. And then, as mentioned, one of them is so slow that most times he quit. Obviously, there's going to be none of that happening in a tournament, but you do lose $1 billion. Feral's in Dullahan right now.
Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just mentioning earlier on the last match that I was in, the semifinal match versus FeralPigMan. He got a 4-5, I got a 4-2. It seemed like a fairly even match up to that point, and I lost by 5 minutes.
Yeah, and it probably legitimately was pretty even all throughout, like minus that point. I mean, I missed the race, but that is my impression. So, no chance for Feral to really try to get the stun off, but he's not doom dancing yet all day. So he's at least getting the damage from Benjamin off on a regular basis, but he's not having the easiest, breeziest fight. He's also opting to switch to Arrow to kill Dullahan because he doesn't want to waste the time seeding and then going back to Meteor because the boss is almost done.
At level 16, you have 4 wizard charges, and you're definitely going to go through that by the end of that fight. I believe you get level divided by 4 wizard charges. So at level 20, he'll gain a 5th charge.
There's a fair amount of variance in Pazuzu's tower also. Certain packs can come again in certain varieties. Some are faster than others. You might have to single target a bunch down, or maybe certain enemies are more dangerous than others. So it just kind of depends on how things go. Or maybe you get to go first more often than not, which again helps you save time also. It just kind of depends. The lead is still being maintained, so it's kind of... That's very interesting. So it's unfortunate that the lead is as wide as it is. It's not insurmountable at all. I'm sure everybody realizes. It is very interesting that it's remained almost exactly the same for over an hour.
There are 2 birds to go, however.
Absolutely.
So anything can happen.
DDR and soon-to-be Feral are walking through one of the first stairways here. The first has all triple eyes. They're fairly predictable, so you're going to bomb them down, and you're going to leave Kaylee on auto. She'll attack her first turn, most likely get blinded next turn, and her auto is going to be to heal that status effect, which is totally cool because the second round of bombs are going to kill. And you actually do want to get through your heal potions in your inventory because there's going to be a little fancy business with your inventory again later if you want to get rid of those.
DDR actually used all the heal potions in a live force with Tristan. So.
So she'll move on to the heal spell from there. So most likely for Feral, he'll spend a couple turns getting rid of those and then move on to the heal spell. DDR is already there.
It should be noted the Beholders reflect magic. Which is why the strategy we use is what it is.
That's what I'm gonna say. Yeah, also just one of those weird cases where maybe, like, Kaylee should have healed or something like that, still ends up arrowing. It's just like, why would you do that? Like, you know, damage it yourself. It's crazy. This game's a little silly sometimes. Typical finish time should be right around 2 hours. If I mean, DDR is like so ridiculously on pace for anything under 2 hours. It's madness. 152 is the world record, and then but you know, there's been plenty of races where things don't work out, but you're probably looking at, you know, at the very least, you know, something under 210.
Here we have DDR going into the Hellway. These enemies are... There you go, there it is.
Don't even need commentary, dude. That's hilarious. Yeah, they can petrify you, and they do a lot of damage too.
Yeah, they petrify you, they have Quake, which takes a lot of time, they have Fire, which neither character has resistance to. I believe they can confuse you. It's just not a good time, and there's all 3 of these encounters are going to be versus 3 of them. There he goes again, he died again.
And yeah, that's why it's the Hellway, because it's going to be super rough to get through.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, here we go. Gotta get...
There's about a 0% chance he's making it through this.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think there's any scenario where you made it through that.
And this is particularly difficult too, because Ben's not at full health, and it's still a bad situation anyway, where you probably weren't going to make it through, but it certainly doesn't help when he can take even less than he normally could even do. So it's a tough situation, but he finally gets through. So a good example of just like how Pazuzu's tower can go. I mean, this is absolutely the worst string of encounters for sure, but you can get owned in plenty of other ones.
Surprised he didn't heal after that.
Yeah, I mean, just another one of the things of like how he plays now. He didn't always play like this, but ever since he wanted to work towards a better time, it's just one of the things you can do. Again, the more you go in your menu to heal, the more time you take to do so, and so it can bite you in the butt, of course. But again, the idea is just kind of like, well, let's just see if we get lucky. And the more you get lucky, the better off you're going to be, for obvious reason.
Now, the life spell's weird. The life spell defaults to targeting Benjamin, but for some reason it will default to the enemy if that's the last thing you did in the prior encounter. It's the only situation it automatically targets the enemy.
Yeah, super weird. Definitely, I've made the wrong targeting choice one way or the other because I wasn't keeping track of that.
There is a chance for exit and life to miss, and I don't have any proof of this, but it seems like it's tied to the character's accuracy stat. Which would put it at about an 86% accuracy for Benjamin, I believe, is his accuracy. And I don't know what Kaylee's accuracy is.
Yeah, life can definitely miss. There's also those weird situations, too, so like a blind Kaylee is most likely not going to land her life spell and things like that. So there is definitely some sort of accuracy. That's not English. Accuracy tied to it. But the hard numbers I also don't have. Okay, well, clean. Oh, I shouldn't have said anything, dude. There's your life miss right there. Feral, for the fans, dude. The fans have a question. Feral answers. You gotta hand it to my boy. He knows how to work the people. The classic commentary curse, I guess.
Don't worry, DDR's already cursed himself to get forward too. It doesn't matter.
Maybe. He might have gotten that floor 2 out of the way last night, though. Or maybe he'll just get another one.
Or the night before, or the night before.
Who knows?
He gets floor 2 a lot.
He does, but clearly he can also not get that and get a good time, so you never know. You never know.
Or they could both get floor 2, and you know. These things happen.
I'm trying to think if I've ever seen, and it's probably gonna be dumb coming from me because I missed most of the tournament races, but I'm like just sitting here wondering like how many double floor 6s.
There have definitely been
happened,
double floor
if any.
6s.
In like a super competitive one, that's something I want to see right now.
I think there was at least one double floor 6 that ended a minute apart.
Nice. That's hot. That's hot.
There have been a lot of really close matches in this tournament. I think the 5-minute difference I had in my last match was actually one of the bigger spreads. Like, there were so many within a minute and a half. It's ridiculous.
Double floor 2. Hopefully
Yeah, we want to see,
not.
We want to see more Mystic Quests.
I want to see lots of fast Mystic Quests. Maybe that's just me. Alright, move down.
DDR's about to grab Flare.
What a based spell that is. Flare is excellent.
Yeah, so Benjamin's good now. Well, sorry, in one battle, he'll be good.
Yeah, so Flare. So there's a lot of single targeting that's happening right now because neither character can even AoE to get the kill. Flare is powerful enough, even with Benjamin with sword, to kill too. So there's a lot of the battles should be going a lot faster. You can Flare defend, or you can kill one, Caitlyn, Flare, and things will go nicely. Of course, you are going to work through your wizard charges. That means you'll have to go through those seeds a little bit. But again, still much faster to get through the encounters this way.
So,
you'll be able to see him do it right now.
I just want to note, DDR's timer's already yellow. Meaning in his PB, he'd already be done with this dungeon.
Okay, this part's also important too. Once he gets through this battle, he'll be walking up to the floor 6 switch. You have to hit it no matter what, but he'll also get a view of if Pazuzu is sitting here in this floor. The nice thing about floor 6 is you can literally hit the switch, walk over to the boss, and start fighting him. It's amazing. If not, well, you'll see. So let's hit the switch. And he's not there, so I want to see my baby rages in chat right here. Because we did not see it. So what this means is Pazuzu's in a different floor. The nice thing about this part is when you hit the floor 6 switch, what you're doing is you're preventing Pazuzu to be able to move through the elevator. You basically lock him on this floor and you get to fight him. But since he's not there, you have to do 2 things. You have to find out where he is, and of course that takes time. And then depending on where he is, excuse me, yeah, go ahead.
Apparently he has a split for hitting the switch.
Yes, he does.
So, yeah.
He has a lot of splits. That's his move. But anyway, you gotta find out where he is. He's gonna start moving down floors right now, and then no matter what floor he ends up on, there's a general strategy that you have to do to where you have to walk to the certain floors and their switches to block Pazuzu from being able to go to other floors, which means if they go through encounters, you might have to do some extra walking from there. And yeah, so no matter what now that he's not gotten floor 6, it's lost time. It's just a question of how much. A big time baby rage here for DDR. Now at this point in time, since Cyclone mentioned 2 is the absolute worst, we're really just hoping that, or at least he's really just hoping that Pazuzu's not on 2.
It's weird the way the tower's laid out. The order and quality is actually starting from 4-6, it then goes to 1, then 5-4-2. It's very strange, but that is how it works out.
Yeah, there's some like weird wraparounds you have to do for switches and talking, and it's just a big old waste of time. Feral gets the flare spell, so after 2 encounters, he'll be checking on Pazuzu as well. So the way he can pass up DDR well, not literally right now, but in a bit, is if he ends up with the floor 6 Pazuzu. Then he'll be able to start up the boss immediately while DDR is searching and fighting hidden switches and stuff. So we'll see. He has one more fight. So get your Pog Champs or your Baby Rages ready, depending on what he has. Okay, no floor 5 or 4 for DDR. So
50,
this part's
50.
scary. Exactly. This part's super scary because now he's either on 1 or 2, and you're hoping to God that he's on floor 1 and not floor 2. Okay, let's check Feral here. Oh no, Baby Rage.
And DDR's timer just turned red. So he is now slower than his PB.
Exactly, and it's just like, I guess you get floor 6, you fight the boss. So just him walking around, he's already gonna lose a billion. It just is what it is. That is the magic of Pazuzu's tower. Dead run right here. Okay.
Since we haven't found him yet, there is a switch on floor 4. DDR just skipped it. You don't want to hit it right now. He doesn't need to hit the 4-4 switch unless it's a floor 2. If the floor 1, he doesn't need to hit it.
So there's 2 choices there. He could go out of his way to hit it just in case, so he doesn't have to go back later. But again, you're banking on taking the fastest possible route that's available to you. So he's just gonna skip it, and if he has to come back, he has to come back. So floor 1.
You got a floor 1. Floor 1's good.
No floor 2 for DDR. He will make it. No floor 5 for Feral, so we'll have to see. But at this point, yeah, I guess we'll just have to see. So floor 1, second best, but still, 5 minutes slower than floor 6.
Yeah, 5 minutes.
So the only thing left DDR has to do right now is to fight this battle, hit the switch, because Pazuzu's on floor 1, so what he's doing with this switch is blocking floor 2, which leaves Pazuzu nowhere to go. He can then exit out of the dungeon and re-enter, and then fight 2 battles and get over to Pazuzu on floor 1. And call it a day. Feral still has to figure out where his Pazuzu is. Floor 2 is really bad just because it happens to be the floor where it requires the most encounters to hit the switches you need.
Floor 4 for Feral.
Yeah, and then and so it just takes way too long to do.
I think somebody did the math, just counted the number of encounters. It's like 9 more encounters than floor 4 or something like that, which is the second slowest.
That's a lot. So floor 4 for Feral. I mean, yeah, you want to never say never, but he's not making up any time. It's a slower floor than 1. Not like by 5 minutes by any stretch, but it still is slower by a clear margin.
So Pazuzu, the boss fight itself can still hold you up for a while. He can petrify you, which is always fun. Starting at the 5th turn, and then I believe it's 3 turns after that, he uses a move called Psych Shield. And if you cast magic on him during Psych Shield, it will reflect back and do the full amount of damage to you. DDR playing a bit risky there, and Kaylee goes down from a Sky attack.
Yeah, so you kind of plan your turns out accordingly. You do have the ability to... Oh my gosh. Oh god. Opening crit. You do kind of tend to have the opportunity, based on what Pazuzu does, to mostly go all out, at least with Benjamin. And then by the time he runs out of wizard charges, he's probably going to Psych Shield, so you can take the time while he's in there to recharge your spells and then and heal yourself back up and kind of get back in the game. One of the main things about Pazuzu that's hard is he has a crap ton of hit points, and you're not really doing that much damage at the end of the day. So even when things are going well, it's still like a longer fight than a lot of others. So it just takes a long time, and that's even when things are going well, let alone if he's like trolling you real hard, without straight up killing you.
So FeralPigMan 4th floor. So you can only fight Pazuzu on floors 3, 5, and 6. So he just left. He left 4-4. He went up to 4-5, which we now have him trapped at. So he has to climb all the way back up to 7 and then back down to 5, and he still has more encounters there to fight before he can fight Pazuzu.
Exactly. So you're kind of like, nobody saw floor 2, but you're getting kind of an easy taste of like what all the non-floor 6s look like. Just a lot of extra encounters to get to the switches, and even then, now that he's like almost done with encounters, he still has to walk around a lot. So it's just a big old pain in the butt. Costs you time. So Pazuzu is getting pretty trolly here. Hasn't outright killed him this round yet, or this attempt yet. But he's trolling it pretty hard right now.
Yeah, that Benjamin alone can be pretty scary. Fortunately, he was at full health. Significantly increases your chances of not dying immediately.
Exactly.
If he's, I believe Sky Attack is enough to kill Benjamin outright, or he can turn you to stone. Or he can crit. Those are the 3 things.
Lucky. Sometimes you go first, sometimes the boss does, and
this was about to be a much closer match.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If he had died right there, it would have been a lot of made-up time. You're always banking on your partner going first, but sometimes it doesn't happen, and he could have paid for that, but it didn't happen. Pazuzu's almost dead here, so unless we see some kind of last-minute thing happen here, then he's pretty much got it in the bag here for this specific fight. Yep, there he goes. So he did die, and then he had a pretty extended fight, but he did make it through. And maybe Feral can make up a little bit of time here with a good fight, but he'll come out behind. The inventory underflow also gave the inventory the sky coin already, so DDR doesn't have to pick it up. He can just move.
A validation chest. I don't think anybody in this tournament has actually picked that up.
So Petrify on Kaylee again, getting a little scary here. Sky attack, it's okay, survives.
That's Pile Driver.
Pile Driver, sorry.
Sky attack would kill him.
Sky attack would have killed him, yeah, my bad. Oh my gosh. Psych shield turn. Yeah. So he was safe there. On a psych shield turn, he'll go last. So
it's like the one fair thing this game does for you. The psych shield goes after you.
Yeah, imagine it going first. That'd be ridiculous. So, go ahead.
Just answering the question in chat. Yes, Za is harder, significantly.
He most likely is going to be the hit points differential different, and then I think he has less. But then you're also pumping out like a lot more damage too. So like potentially that fight can go like really fast. It's just probably be and you're probably gonna die all the time. But technically, it can go by easier and faster. Just probably won't.
So the item duplication, did you talk about that?
No, I didn't.
But not the duplication, the underflow. So we did another item underflow glitch. We bought 0 cure potions, and then, importantly, before using them, got Kaylee out of our party, put Ruben in our party. We used the cure potions, and since they're in the 4th slot, it corrupts the next slot over, which doesn't exist, and gives us the gas mask, the mirror, the thunder rock, which is what we need, and I believe that crest as well? I can't remember.
Yes. Exactly right.
Which the crest is used to teleport out of that house into this area.
That's why like dungeon went really fast, because normally you have to go into that cave, grab the crest, and then you'll have a little cutscene at the entrance, but you already have the crest, so you just step in, do the cutscene, step back up, and move on to the ship. You do have to remember to get the captain's hat from Kaylee before you move on there. can feel really easy to like just start moving on. But if you forget to talk to Kaylee, then you have to come back and talk to her.
And if you use the cure potions before Kaylee's out of the party, the run's over.
Yeah,
You just soft lock. Feral made it through Azuzu pretty nicely, actually.
Yeah, he did get through better, but he at least has to start asking, if you will, for DDR to run into some really, really bad things. Probably multiple times.
Yep.
To try to catch him.
Yep. So coming up in the very start of the next dungeon, there is an optional item that I don't think either player is gonna grab. I know for this tournament, I said I was gonna grab it every single time. I went against that last round because I was so far behind. The Aegis Shield gives us petrification and paralysis resistance. A lot of things in the last dungeon are gonna paralyze and petrify us. It takes about a minute to go get, however, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah, it takes a substantial amount of time to get, but stops you from dying in random encounters for the most part. But again, the route's laid out such a way you're just gonna bank on not getting screwed over in an encounter. Does it happen all the time? Of course not. But you want the best possible time and then see what the game gives you. So your top runners are not going to get it, whether it's in a race or not. For the most part, I can't speak for everybody, but many do.
Like I said, for this tournament, I said I was going to grab it every single round because the very first match I did in the zoo area, I think I died 8 or 9 times to petrify. And it was just incredibly miserable all around. I lost so much time because I didn't grab it. So it can be worth it in a race setting, but again, definitely not for PB attempts.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, you die just a handful of times, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, if I could have grabbed the shield. But again, they want to go for the best time possible. And DDR, I mean, Feral's never going to grab it. He never even grabbed it, even when his time wasn't good. So.
Yeah, it is an option on the table for DDR if he knows he's ahead. Because it would just kind of solidify his lead a little more.
I'd be utterly shocked if he did, but yeah,
me
maybe
too.
He'll throw it in there.
Based on the decisions he's been making up till now, I'd be very shocked if he did.
The ship's really simple. There's a couple of encounters on the deck that might be kind of trolly. Most times you run away from them and try again anyway. Otherwise, it's really straightforward.
Don't try to run from 2 wizards in a chimera. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
I found that out the hard way.
Yeah, the level can matter, and you want to have the sword, but even then, it might not matter. So, hopefully, you just get through. And yeah, DDR's he's on his way. He's got the story triggers. He's got his last party member. And he'll be moving on over to Doom Castle. The game's not over yet.
Yeah, so,
but it's in the last part.
BB2 is ridiculous. She has 99 magic. She comes with 2 wizard spells. One of them is a good single target, one of them is a good multi-target. 10 wizard charges, 20 black charges. It's just everything she does is so ridiculously amazing. A multicast cure will top both Benjamin and Phoebe off, unless Phoebe's at like below 20 HP.
And we have her resistances. Now she has her own resistances. Everything's come full circle.
Yeah, one of the main reasons we use Phoebe 2's resistances over everyone else's is because she's the only partner character that comes with a shield. And I believe that shield is what gives us paralysis resistance and something else. Probably speed.
2 gargoyles and a ninja. Ninja club.
I rarely ever see that ninja.
I was just about to say, I was like, dude, have I ever even experienced that? I'm not even sure, to be honest. Oh, man.
Yeah, and DDR did skip the Aegis Shield. He already skipped. It's in the bottom right-hand side of the room he's currently in.
So, Flamer's Rex protected from using the life spell on him, but Skullrus not so much, so you can just take him out in one hit right there. You can also exit him, but you may as well just take him out with Phoebe right away instead of letting him do anything. And then you move on from that part, and you move on to the ice part. The ice part is pretty easy. Like, you have a pretty high chance of striking first in a lot of these battles. And then the main, so really most of the time your main concern, if it's even really a concern, is just making sure you remember all the switches that you have to hit. There's a lot of them. Maybe annoying when you're first getting started, but obviously not really going to be a problem for these two gentlemen.
I can't hear it, so I didn't mention it. But Doom Castle, the music is absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, you know, a lot of people have some very polarized opinions for this game, but I think one of the two things, probably the two things almost everybody seems to agree on, is the quality of the soundtrack, very good soundtrack, and of course, and the quality of the monster sprites are also quite good. Even if you hate the game, most people seem to agree, at least that the game has those things. But yeah, I can't hear the music, and I'm sad a little bit.
Which is weird. Feast had an audio up for us recently. I don't know why it's not up this time.
It's all good. I'll just play it in my head.
Now, all of the enemies we're facing in Doom Castle they're not recolors of monsters in the previous areas. They are the monsters in the previous areas. So we're fighting monsters straight out of the Ice Pyramid. And due to that, the players will get a lot of strike firsts up through the Ice Pyramid area.
Yeah, very easy to get through the enemies.
I say that, I don't think he got one for this fight. Or maybe he did. Just mashed through it so fast I didn't see it.
Yeah, you know, I haven't felt like he's actually seen a lot of strike firsts, but I could be wrong about that. I know I feel the same way as what the chat's saying. Great casual game, in my opinion. Speedrun can be frustrating, but I know I came into the scene, as I mentioned before, because Feral convinced me to. He wanted to race it a lot, and that's kind of where a lot of at least the pain was always accompanied by joy with me, because I'd be racing with my buddies all the time, and we'd all be crying together. There's something about that's kind of nice. But a good PB grind, so let's say aiming for sub 2 is like, that can definitely wear on you quite a bit.
So Didier is about to start the Ice Golem refight, the Stone Golem. He also doesn't have death immunity, so we're gonna blink him out of existence.
Exactamundo. This fight can be trolly.
Hey!
Like that.
Yeah, he has some weird instant death ability.
It looks like DDR was ready for that and just kind of threw the life in just in case.
Oh yeah, I had Phoebe on auto, and Phoebe went after, so.
Nice. But then he gets the double
and then he died anyway!
Who even needs the golem to troll you, dude? The dogs control you as well with that petrify. So another opportunity here where Benjamin could have avoided that, but they also do good damage anyway. So even if they don't petrify him here, he's probably dead.
Yep, we still don't have fire resistance.
Oh
my god!
How many times is he gonna survive like that, dude? This guy, dude. Oh my god, this freaking guy. I mean, to be fair, he did die on the first attempt, but come on, 2 HP, give me a break. That's like the 3rd time at least that's happened in this run.
The Cerberuses are incredibly weak to fire, and in particular the flare spell. Even with 3 of them on the field, a flare spell will wipe them out with ease.
It's like so easy to kill on paper, but they got their petrifies and they got their bark like a dog for
confusion.
me. Yeah, and they got.
I think they have Doom Gaze. I think they have Doom Gaze.
I think you're right. So it's just like they should.
Actually, no, I am absolutely certain they have Doom Gaze because they still troll me even when I get Aegis.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, especially when you have 3 of them. It's just you need one spell. What's the problem? But then they just kill you over and over anyway. That being said, for the most part, a lot of these encounters are fairly straightforward. I say that as Phoebe gets confused immediately.
And she's still... Well, Flare's not the right spell in that case anymore, but still. Just the fire on the dog is like the one thing that would kill him.
I know, dude.
Now he gets the first strike. He gets the first strike this time around.
Even when DDR has bad luck, he'll enter the fight with good luck. This guy's on something, dude. I don't know what's going on. I'm demanding a blood test after this race is over to see if this is legit, dude. Or if DDR is John Jones in it right now. We're gonna have to figure this out.
Feral's having some issues over here.
Yeah, if he can just survive.
Quake's gonna do a lot. Quake's gonna kill him. He needed a bark, is basically the only thing that would have helped.
Yeah, he could have made it out of there. Unfortunately, it did not happen. Ooh, Doom Dance. I'm just playing. DDR is my boy. Of course he's not doping.
Hey, that didn't get it. Hey, and there's the paralysis. Can't run. So this is one of the reasons for the races I like to grab Aegis Shield. I mean, the boss fight coming up especially is going to be... You're probably going to see it at least from one of the runners. He likes to paralyze you forever.
Oh, will Feral actually make it? He did spend like 4 or 5 or 6 minutes on this boss once. I felt really bad, because of course Stone Golem control you, but it's such an easy fight, like, spending 5 minutes on him is, like, ridiculous. But he does finally make it through. DDR finally makes it to the boss. Twin Head, to me, is fairly similar to Ghidra. Like, it should go okay, but a couple of the wrong things happening puts you in a really, really bad spot where you're just gonna die.
Yeah, the first half of the fight he has a fire breath and still no fire resistance. And it does, as you just saw, 740 damage to Benjamin. He can paralyze Benjamin, and paralyze never seems to want to wear off. And on top of that, if he happens to crit Phoebe, she's dead.
And then you're dead unless he's almost dead. And then, or he could just hit Phoebe with, you know, the fireball and she's kind of low, and then, you know, kind of like what's happening right now. He also has the tendency to go first. And so if you're kind of letting her get a little low before you heal, which of course you would, you can definitely get unlucky and he'll go first and kill her too. So it's one of those fights that like really ought to go well, like practically every time, but it certainly doesn't.
And he doesn't have a lot of health even. There's been so many instances of this last sprite he's in, you just skip it outright.
Exactly. And there he goes. It wasn't like the best Twin Head I've ever seen, but I mean, he got through fine, so it's all good. Again, he has the lead too, so it doesn't really matter. And we're almost done, everybody. We're almost done. But there is one very, very large obstacle in the way.
The gatekeeper.
So
this entire area is actually a bit of a mess.
that's very true.
So we got the Cerberuses, they're all over the place and in like every encounter. Again, with the Doom Gaze, Petrify, Confusion, they all suck. We have Chimeras, they're resistant to Flare, so we have to change our strategies if battles involving them happen. We have Thanatoses, which are recolored. Dullahands, they still have their Doom Dance. It's just a mess.
Yeah. He just definitely comes in handy on this floor quite a bit. A lot can go wrong. You could spend a lot of time here and lose a lot of time before you even get to the boss, where you can also lose lots and lots of time.
I know the Chimeras have paralysis and petrification. It's fun. It's fun game.
Agreed. So, what's ridiculous is it ought to be basically over, but it's really not, because you can really be stuck on the Zoo Infinite, where the Zoo just keeps killing you one way or another over and over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
So he could just one-shot him right here and then it's over, or like DDR could literally spend 13 minutes on this boss. Yeah, who knows?
And Marsh isn't in chat. I was hoping he would be. My first match in this tournament was against Marsh, and yeah, Zoo happened. I think he killed me 7 times and him like 3 times.
I don't like to wish evil upon other people. I don't think that's a nice thing to do, but I already mentioned I'm biased, so I really need DDR here to die to Zoo like 6 times. Which is not even unreasonable, sadly, because
it's
the boss
not.
is ridiculous. It should be, I mean, it is a shorter fight than Pazuzu, but one of the number one things that can happen is you can almost any turn, as long as he's not psych shielding. Actually, no, he still can. Maybe. He has Doom Dance also, so if he hits your partner, unless he's about to die, then it's pretty much over. That's one of the ways you can get owned by him.
Okay, Fail should be through with that.
Yeah. So it's so funny, like, you haven't really changed from around that 3-minute split, like, for 2 hours. It's crazy.
Yeah, DDR got a better floor, but then got trolled by Pazuzu himself.
Yeah. So Zoo is just very dangerous. He can end the fight whenever he wants. I mean, there's no way you can just end it in 2 rounds. I mean, even if the fight could somehow end in 2, it's not like he couldn't kill you anyway. But obviously it'd be less likely.
So, hilarious enough, with the resistance glitch in mind, there is actually one partner with death resistance. For some reason, it's Tristram. Nobody knows why.
Yeah.
He doesn't fight anything with instant death.
My man Dancho has tried to see what it's like to run with that guy and not be instant death. But oh man, yeah, it's nice to not get instant killed, but boy, do you bring in a lot of other issues.
Mainly paralysis, I'd imagine.
Yeah, plus like the inability to like kill anything. So
Yeah.
it was pretty funny to see once, but that's just not a good idea. As it turns out, the men in this game are kind of awful, and the women are kind of...
Well, that's a fun time for Feral.
For Feral. Can't catch a break tonight. I guess maybe...
That's a fun time for DDR.
Oh, nice, dude. Petrify, Paralyze. And then they start getting you with, like, the low-level stuff that won't kill you, so you're just sitting there forever being like, please do something. Like with that sleep, that's not helpful. And then the Mist Doom Dance. And then the 100 Dance. And then the Cure. This is like one of the most aggravating things right here, dude. Where it's like, you know you're dead, and then it takes like 8 actions for it to kill you, when it can only really need to take 1.
Yeah, if you don't have any characters that can act, you can't run.
Where's
Never
the Aegis
mind.
Shield now?
This is the gatekeeper. I misspoke earlier.
Welcome to Zoo's floor. Not even at Zoo yet. Still getting owned.
Alright, that should make it through.
Okay, now, alright, we made it. We made it. The strategy is not too different. He does have ads instead of Pazuzu being by himself, so you do have to deal with that. Otherwise, oh!
Hey!
Nice. Nice. So the good news is that it happened right away. So obviously he's going to lose time, but not very much because it happened right away. If it's going to happen at all, that's where you want it to happen. So you can try again almost immediately.
Dude, nice crits for 2. So there is a bugged move in his moveset. He can use the Psych Shield. That's not a move he's supposed to be able to use. It does 1 damage to... Actually, it does 1 damage to either Bandit, Phoebe, or both. It's really weird. And it can crit for 2.
Gosh, I can't even remember last time I saw a crit for 2. That's awesome. Anyway, the overall strat's mostly the same. You're going to hit him with your highest level spells, and then by the time you run out of charges anyway, he's going to go into Psych Shield, so he'll regroup and kind of go again. Ideally hoping the whole time.
3 Psych Shields in a row?
And then you want to see a lot of that, because then you're not wasting time healing too, so you're putting in a lot of offense.
That's 8. That's 8 already.
Yeah.
So Zoo has 20,000 health each wizard spell. That's about 2,000. He
He's
can throw out a
dead.
bow attack for the 9th.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty much guaranteed at this point. It doesn't, like, he's 1 cast away, even if he kills 1 person, then... And he's like, shields
Another
again.
Psych Shield, dude. The God Zoo after the first turn Doom Dance. What a guy. It's so that now it's over now. He did not get trolled very much. I did enjoy that first turn Doom Dance. It tickled me a little bit, but he did not get Zoo infinited. Did. Speaking of infinite.
So the Zolhan's using cures. Probably didn't single target whatever the ad was. So yeah, the Dolan is off cure magic. You want to kill them in 1 hit. Or Thanatos, as I believe they're actually called. So they usually come with a dog, I believe, Cerberus. You can either single target one of the Thanatos down with thunder, or one of the Cerberus is down with fire, and then use flare, and it should finish the battle. Assuming everything else goes right.
Yeah. Alright, we got my man Dark King. Epic final boss.
So that cure magic we got in whatever the first town is called.
Whew.
24,000
damage. What a god.
Phoebe feels bad for him, so she'll restore some of his health real quick.
And yet he's still transforming. Man, what is going on right now?
He takes insult to Phoebe's cure.
So we got the IRC time already, but I'll wait for this guy to finish out. And DDR has finished with a 202, 33 on IRC, 31 on his timer. So congratulations to someDDRnoob. He has won the Mystic Quest Tournament Finals. He ruined my bracketology. Bracketology, excuse me. But well deserved. The man has worked really hard. Been playing the game a lot. And, you know, not only his PB, but his tournament win shows all his hard work has paid off. So GG to him, dude.
I actually think I'm tied for first in brackets.
Ooh.
I gotta look at that. Because I think I was tied with somebody and we had the same semifinals on.
Okay, Feral's coming up on Zoo right now, so maybe we can see another god fight here. Maybe.
There's no name attached to this person who's tied with me. I don't know whose bracket this is. Oh, it's Silverfire's. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was looking a little dicey when Benjamin took that first hit, but he's totally cool now. Everything's fine. Unfortunately, not getting that Psych Shield love so far. Nope, he's getting the Sky Attack love so far.
I also be a little bit careful here. Okay, PB went Oh, Psych Shield turn. Okay, doesn't have to be careful at all, in the slightest. One thing you can do is Phoebe's low, and she definitely isn't guaranteed to go first by any means. You can actually have Benjamin defend her and have her on auto, and then she'll take care of anything that happens.
Alright, you know, not the friendliest fight, but everything's going fine so far. There's a Psych Shield. That's nice. He queued the arrow because there's always that chance that Phoebe's gonna go. Oh god. Alright, let's get some of the luckiest turns of all time. Like all dude dance misses, like right here.
No, Psych Shield. Psych Shield.
Or Psych Shield. I mean, either one's fine. Oh! Oh!
And the crit!
This is it, dude. This is it. Show him how it's done, Feral. Give him the swag.
Oh, no! Sky Attack will wipe you out.
There goes that 3-minute differential. So close, dude. So close. Could have had it. That would have been epic, dude. So, oh my god. The Zoo Infinite's happening to the wrong person. Well, at least that was fast.
Yeah. For Zoo, I'll even keep casting flares, even if Phoebe's dead, because he could just keep Psych Shielding me.
That's true.
It's a thing that can happen.
Frickin' birds, dude. Totally fine start. Let's make this one happen. You can kind of have like 3 very general ways this fight can go. You saw one of them with DDR for sure, where he got Psych Shielded, I don't know, like 19,000 times, and you just kill him immediately. You can kind of have what Feral's been sort of dealing with, where, you know, before he got killed, he wasn't really dying, but a lot of Phoebe healing, so you're pumping out less damage per round. Makes the fight take a little bit longer, obviously. Or you can just die right away. So hopefully we can start seeing luck change for Feral. But, you know, at the very least, if he's not straight up getting wiped, then that's good enough at this point in time. This over 4,000 damage per round is very impressive. So there you go. Nice, decently nice fight there for him. He's got it out of the way. Should theoretically get under 210 still, so maybe my estimate is correct after all.
Let's see what Dark King has to say about that.
So you saw on DDR as Dark King goes very straightforward, but there can be some troll that happens in that fight.
You can paralyze Benjamin. That's pretty much the #1 thing that's gonna mess you up.
Yeah, later on he can heal himself. It's not gonna wipe you. Just a little bit of extra shenanigans. And I guess if you're super ridiculously unlucky, because I know it's happened to me before. 2 things have happened to me before, actually, that he'll just one-shot Phoebe right away. Super rare. I've also had Benjamin outspeed both Dark King and Phoebe on round 2. Somehow. It's only happened once.
Without the sword?
Yeah.
That's impressive. Go Benjamin.
Yeah, so that ruined things too. But other than that, it should be straightforward. And now that he did no damage to Phoebe, it should be fine. I saw a finish on IRC, but again, I'll just wait for the feed real quick.
Yep, just a brief explanation of what's happening here. The Dark King has 40,000 HP. Cure Magic heals half plus a modifier based on magic. And this being a 16-bit game cannot store any number greater than 65,535. I don't know the number. I always forget the number.
Like that, yeah.
So it is overflowing his HP and doing damage.
All right, and GG to Feral. The IRC says 209.30. Split seems to say 209.24. GG to our finalists. So DDR takes the crown. My man Feral, second place. Both of these guys, excellent work. Make sure to give both these guys some love. Entering the tournament, kicking some booty, having some fun along the way. Hopefully entertaining y'all. And much love to these guys, two good friends of mine. I'm happy to have watched at least one race.
Fiesel is asking me a very important question. Let's see what... You probably can't see this. I don't think you're in this channel. Yeah, you're definitely not. Okay, so Fiesel just asked me and Opus if we wanted to do a third place match.
Ooh.
I'm up for it, Opus is up for it, so we just have to find out when we're going to do that.
Mystic Quest ain't over yet. They got more coming at you. Sunday, someday. But yeah, dude, I know it's been, the tournament's going on for quite a decent chunk of time. Either my man Fiesel or whoever helps out Fiesel, it's probably just, if Fiesel even has any help, it's probably just a clone of Fiesel. So shout outs to him for setting up the tournament, restreaming all this stuff, getting all of us coordinated. I want to thank him for allowing me to run my mouth for 2 hours, especially since I had no part in most of the tournament. And shout outs to my man Cyclone here for joining me tonight. It's been a good time, dude.
Yeah, man. Nice working with you, too.
I'm not really sure what's going to happen from here on out. DDR talks about retirement. We'll see if he actually follows through with that. I'm pretty dang sure my man Feral's probably done with this game. Maybe forever. So, yeah, I just want to send some love to these two dudes. It was a good race. Unfortunate it couldn't be a little bit closer. But these guys definitely played well and put it everything they could. Came out with a solid time, so yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't look, we don't know when we're doing the third place match yet, but it is a thing that is going to happen.
So if you came into this race feeling bittersweet that this was the last Mystic Quest race you were going to see, well, you're going to see another one sometime between now and the end of time. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep saying random things till someone tells me to stop or kicks me out of the channel. So, you know, if you like Mystic Quest, let me tell you how you get started. You can go to GameFAQsFAQs.com. There, you go to the FAQ section. You can search up a guide by this rando dude named El Magus. I don't know why he thought he could write a guide, but he did. It's very dense. It's literally holding your hand through the entire thing, but because it's holding your hand through the entire thing, it's very easy to pick up. And you can start doing some runs. Maybe your first run takes you somewhere around the 3-hour, 4-hour mark. And you can just kind of move down from there as you kind of learn your menus and learn your encounter packs and stuff, and you can really just get going. I know that I have absolutely stopped running on Mondays after limit break, but potentially and probably there will be a number of people interested every Monday to race, and you can hop in those anytime you want. There is a Discord, not just for the tournament, but for Mystic Quest entirely, and you can always hit that up and see what's going on. There's actually tends to be enough interest in what we call Mystic Mondays that even on some occasions multiple races have gone down just because of, you know, time zone differences and whatnot. So you got some West Coast people, some East Coast people, and if it's hard to match up, chances are you can match up with someone on your coast and go for it. So if you're interested in the game, very easy to pick up. When you have a good time, yeah, it can be frustrating to deal with the RNG, to try to get a better time. But at the end of the day, I think races are great, and you can just suffer with your buddies, and it's a good time.
Absolutely. And you may join we'll have a German friend join us as well for Mystic Mondays.
Exactly. My man DDR, congratulations, dude.
And welcome to the chat, DDR and FeralPigMan, both in here now. Congratulations, DDR. That, like you have commented on your run, that was an amazing early game.
Yeah, I can't believe how much good luck I got. Well, especially with Wintry Cave, because I had first strike and I only saw one riddle on the the Wintry Cave.
I had commented on the first strike you got against the guy.
I was pretty good on EXP until the tree, where on the last fight I didn't get level 16, but it worked out in the end.
Yep. Because that was what, sub 37 Ice Golem?
I think it was almost that. The run I did last night had a sub 37. I was running against those splits for a while before I changed it to my PB.
Yeah, just as a comparison with Feral, he died to Behemoth, had several missed cures against Flamerous, died to Crab.
Boy. I think I noticed that.
He did not have as nearly as good of an early game.
Yeah, that's a typical race beginning. That's what I consider.
Yeah, it was a pretty rough start for Feral, although, you know, my man was holding it strong. I mean, obviously I wasn't there in your chat here and your reaction, assuming that you even had a mic on, but it seemed like you were playing solid the whole time, and just things weren't working out for you for a lot of it.
Yeah, there was pretty much a 3-minute deficit coming out of Ice Pyramid and lasting all the way until Zoo, pretty much. Because DDR, you had the better floor, but then you got held up on Pazuzu himself.
Not only that, but the Hellway, I died, I think 2 or 3 times the first...
I think it was 4 times.
Yeah, something like that. So that was pretty bad. And 4-7, it was a little shaky because I keep making that mistake where I forget to switch exit after dealing with the Beholder there.
Mm-hmm.
That always gets me. And I don't know how many misses I had with Kaylee. I think it was like 2 or 3, which is about on par for what I expect, since she has a 90% accuracy stat.
Oh, 90%. Excellent. I was actually talking about that exact stat and I didn't know it.
Yeah. Phoebe has a 92, Phoebe2 rather, has a 92% chance, and I've seen her miss plenty of times. You might have noticed me using her physical attacks in Doom Castle as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rare that she does miss her white magic stats as well, because white magic's also affected by the accuracy stat.
Which was another thing we were talking about. There were a lot of things we were talking about. It's like, we don't know the exact specifics, but it seems to work this way, like white magic accuracy.
And that's what I believe the white magic accuracy stat is tied down to, is the overall accuracy stat. And a lot of the strats I do usually bank on Benjamin not missing. Like, you've seen in the beginning, I opt to use axe attacks instead of bombs, mostly because of the faster animation, but Benjamin has like a, what is it, 74% accuracy? It's pretty bad. But I don't think I missed any of his attacks other than exits.
Is his accuracy that low? I thought it was like 86 or something.
I don't know exactly, but it's pretty low in the beginning, but it does get better as you level up.
Okay. Feral, you have anything you wanted to add? It's kind of been DDR talking.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty bad run. Just like basically every split, multiple things went wrong. So I think it's good that DDR won. My run was pretty bad overall. So
honestly,
if like somehow Zoo had stonewalled him and like I won somehow or something.
Honestly, your run is pretty much a good example of what Mystic Quest is as a speedrun.
Mm-hmm.
My run is a terrible example, because I got good luck.
Yeah, I don't think I've died to Crab in a really, really long time, and he killed me twice.
Crowd is usually my gatekeeper. And all I can say about this victory is, feels birthday, man. Mostly because of the quarterfinals.
Speaking of gatekeepers, the battle right before Zoo.
Oh yes, that one.
I was like, sorry, I misspoke. This is the gatekeeper.
Yeah, I tried to run away, but I guess being petrified really reduces your chance to run away a lot. And being paralyzed, of course. Because I think run away is determined by your current HP and what status you have. And I failed to run away from the Sphinxes in Exit Battlefield before, and it's pretty gnarly.
I didn't know HP might have an effect on that.
And that's what Elmegas has told me, and I pretty much applied it to every instance where I didn't run away successfully, and it makes sense to me.
That's really weird. Like, that doesn't make any sense why they would actually include your HP and the runaway chance at all.
This game was intended to be much deeper than it is.
Indeed. Definitely a thinking face emoji.
Don't ask me. I got nothing. Some would say I shouldn't even be here right now. So who knows, man? Who knows? All right, though. 2 questions, DDR. 2 questions.
Go for it.
Question 1. What are you going to do to celebrate the Mystic Quest tournament victory, which is basically the same as, like, winning the lottery or, like, becoming the King of Canada?
Well, do hundo. Retire from any percent for a long time.
All right. Enjoy retirement and enjoy hundo. Sounds good. Second question.
Yep.
Would you be willing to submit to a blood test to see if you were doping before this run? Because that run was way too good.
Absolutely. I have nothing to hide.
All right. You heard it here, folks. I'll post on Twitter the results when I get them. I appreciate that, DDR.
And I will
You are a
donate
scholar
blood,
and a
too.
gentleman. You're a scholar and a gentleman, my friend. Congratulations again, dude.
Thank you.
My man Feral, how does it feel to be done?
Feels pretty good. So I don't know if I want to actually keep playing this game for sub 2, but probably not. We'll see.
There's very much difference.
I don't know, man. I guess I just can't use Genjamin, because like Genjamin and floor 6 manipulation just do not go together apparently.
Maybe we should rope him into joining Mystic Quest again.
Well, that's about it for me. I got nothing else. So GG to my boys again. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for commentating, guys, and congrats, DDR.
Thank you guys for hosting the tournament. Thank you, Fiesel, for hosting us. And thank you to all the participants as well for very good races throughout the round robin and the bracket stage. A lot of good races, especially the quarterfinals. Those were one of the best races in my opinion.
I've got nothing.
All right.
So I guess we're done here.
Yep. That about does it for me as well. Once again, thanks everyone for watching.
Everyone have a good night or day or wherever you are. Have a good one.
Yep. Cheers.